When you meet the person God wants you to spend the rest of your life with, it's going to be very different than every other relationship experience you've had. It's not always going to be the easiest relationship experience, but it will be the most incredible. Here are 4 reasons you will be amazed when God puts you two together. Number 1, you will have finally let go of some former hope, which frees God to bless you with something new. One of the primary reasons so many people lose hope in the idea of being in a healthy relationship one day is because of an unfulfilled hope in the past. When you hoped that something would turn out to be greater than it turned out to be, the disappointment you are left with can leave a giant void in your soul. Because you've been let down in the past, you assume you will always be let down in the future. In C.S. Lewis's book called Letters to Malcolm, he wrote, "It seems to me that we often, almost sulkily, reject the good that God offers because at that moment we expected some other good. God shows us a new facet of the glory and we refuse to look at it because we're still looking for the old one. And of course, we don't get that. If God granted all the silly prayers I've made in my life, where would I be now?" And so when you do finally meet the person God wants you to be with, He will grant you the grace to let go of the former relationship hopes you had, so you will then be free to receive the new relationship blessing you would not have foreseen, but which God had already planned for you. Number 2, the barriers trying to block the relationship will help rather than hurt you both. Every relationship has some variable in it that is not ideal. Sometimes these obstacles are signs that God does not want you two together. One way you will know that is the case is by the effect this obstacle is having on your relationship. If the obstacle is ultimately pulling you two apart rather than strengthening your relationship even more, it's probably a sign it's not meant to be. But when the challenge is actually bonding you two even closer together in a biblical way, this is an amazing act of God that usually means this is the person He wants you to be with. When it's God's will for you, He doesn't always remove the barrier, but He will give you the grace to get through it. Number 3, you will see how all your past relationship trials have prepared you for this blessing. Your training won't make sense until you finally get the assignment. David didn't know why God made him fight the lion and the bear when protecting his father's sheep, but when it was time for David to face Goliath, suddenly David understood that God was preparing him for this moment. The same is often true when it comes to God's training for you and the person He has planned for you to marry one day. The relationship trials and disappointments will be very confusing in the moment, but then when you end up using those skills you learned in the past so you can be successful with this person, you will know this was an amazing act of God to prepare you in ways you didn't even know you would need to be prepared for. And number 4, you will be content to face the unknowns together. Rather than tell you what your future will be like with this person, He will give you both the courage, faith, and willingness to face all the unknowns together. This is the essence of Christian marriage vows. The whole focus here is that you both will be committed through whatever happens. This is amazing. Normally, we say no when there are too many unknowns ahead, but when God leads you to the person He has for you, both of you will be content to face all the unknowns together.